All right, welcome, folks. I'm Rabbi Micah Streifer. I'm the director of La Asok. And here in this Elul season, this season of preparation for the High Holy Days, I'm pleased to welcome you to our weekly Tikva through text, our weekly study session seeking hope in our study of texts and in our engagement with each other. Today, we welcome, I don't even know if welcome is the right word because she's such a fixture of this community, Rabbi Emily Losben-Ostrov, who is the rabbi of Temple Shalom in Scotch Plains, New Jersey, but perhaps equally importantly is a part of our advisory committee here at La Asok and a driving force behind this community. So I'm going to invite you all to join me in the blessing for study. If you feel comfortable, I'll invite you to unmute yourself so that we can hear one another and together sanctify this act of study. Then we'll turn things over to Rabbi Losben-Ostrov for our discussion. Please join me. Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai
Adonai
Eloheinu melech
Eloheinu
haolam
melech haolam
asher
asher
kiddushanu
kiddushanu
b'mitzvotav
b'mitzvotav
yivanu
yitzvanu
la'asok divrei Torah.
divrei Torah.
Blessed is the Eternal, whose mitzvot, whose commandments bring holiness to our lives, and who commands us to immerse or engage in words of Torah. Rabbi Emily Losben-Ostrov, take things away.
Hi, everyone. It is so great to see you all. I am seeing some friends with whom we've studied many times with La Asok. I'm seeing some of my congregants, and I'm also seeing some brand new people. And Marnie, I'm seeing an adorable stuffed animal with you. So I'm very excited. Any stuffed or real animals are always encouraged to participate. And Yehuda and Aviva, please, you're in Hawaii and you didn't invite me with you. I'm not sure that's fair, but I hope you'll have some pineapple and macadamia nuts for me. So,
You
friends,
don't
it
want
is
to be here. We're in and out of. We just are recovering from a hurricane, and another one's on the way this weekend. It's been
Oi
pretty
gewollt.
pretty bad thing here.
Oh wow, I'm so sorry I didn't realize the news. So please stay safe and come home quickly and safely. And we hope next time you're there it'll be much better. How about that? Is that okay?
I
This is
hope
home.
I hope Lala didn't affect you a lot.
Um,
Not us personally, but there's a lot of devastation on the island. And yeah,
oh
this is
goodness.
home though, so we get to be here for all the rest of the good stuff you mentioned.
Okay, great, great. Well, we're going to go from home to hope and just change one letter there and have our wonderful tikva through text, as Rabbi Streifer said. And really, it is just a blessing to be with everyone. And I see that we're representing from all over the world as well. So, friends, if you saw the little blurb for what we're going to be doing today, we are going to be talking about the Via Hafta text. And that is something that I know that everyone or most of you are probably familiar with. And the reason that I chose to talk about that today is because in this season of Elul, as Rabbi Streifer mentioned, as this time of the month preceding Rosh Hashanah, we have an opportunity to get ready spiritually. And there is a beautiful reading. If any of you have seen the book Mishkan Halev, which is a prayer book just for the month of Elul and has a Slichot service, which is the service we do leading up to Rosh Hashanah. Slichot means it's pardon in plural. If you've ever been on a bus in Israel, you will throw elbows and say Slicha, Slicha. But here in this context, slichot is us asking God for pardon. And so I'm going to share a very special Via Hafta that was written for the month of Elul. And I'm excited to share that. But before I do, I want us to take a look at our traditional text of the Via Hafta, which, as many of you know, comes directly from the Torah. And as I am going to pull that up on the screen right now, I'd love to invite any of you, if you'd like to put in the chat, any thoughts that come to mind immediately when you just hear the Via Hafta, hear the word Via Hafta, or when you say the Via Hafta? If anybody wants to put in any of those reactions, thank you. Catherine wrote love, and of course, Via Hafta means and love, the vav to be and love. And I will say, as hopefully some of you are putting in your own thoughts about the Via Hafta, for me, it is amazing that, and I say this often, so some people may have heard me say it, that we as a Jewish faith have a prayer, one of our central prayers that is commanding us to love God, not fear, not respect, not simply honor, but to love, which hopefully we're doing revering and all respecting and all of that as well. So I see some more comments came into the chat. Is there anybody else who wants to real quickly unmute and say something for what you think of when you hear the words? So I'll just repeat in case you're not seeing the chat. Love, mezuzah, yes, Marnie, it's the text within the mezuzah. Commitment, teach, held. Leor, I love that. And from Rabbi Schreifer, surrounding ourselves with the words of Torah on your doorposts, on your body, on your words. Beautiful. Anybody else, if you want to say something out loud, I invite you to raise your hand. And in the meantime, I am about to share my screen. And first, we'll look at the traditional Reform text, not the full traditional that is even longer, but the somewhat abbreviated that most of us offer. And then from there, we will look at this modern one that I have for Elul, which I think is pretty powerful. So again, this is taking from Mishkan Halev, which is Tabernacle for the Heart, and it's the Slichot and Elul prayer book. So I'm going to go ahead and let's read through the English translation. But I'll just start the very first line in Hebrew, so at least we feel we have that Hebrew with us. And again, if anyone wants to speak up, please, as Rabbi Schreifer said, it's best if you use the electronic, because thankfully there are so many of us today, it's not all fitting on one screen for me. So, V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'chayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. Now I'm going to continue the rest with the English, but I want to just also make sure to point out a few words right here as I read the English. With your entire heart, your entire soul or mind, and your whole being. So here we go. You shall love Adonai, your God, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. Thus you will become holy to your God. I, Adonai, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I, Adonai, your God. So anything stick out or come to mind? Anybody want to share just in thinking of the V'ahavta? And remember, we are thinking about the idea here of using this prayer to give us hope and to bring hope. So please, Yehuda or Aviva?
I have always thought it to be a word, just the word itself, to be multiple tenses. And if you think of it as multiple tenses, that means that the word is timeless.
Beautiful.
And that makes it that much more powerful.
Love it. I love that. Thank you. Andrea Losben.
I think it's really important about teaching to your children. And that line always resonates with me. It's not just your own children, but it's generations to come. So
Beautiful.
that's what I look at it as.
I appreciate that too, because that's also saying that in this prayer, the hope is that we're going to be able to have a future. The hope of Judaism, not just for us and not just of our ancestors, which is part of so many of other prayers, but for the future. Susan and that beautiful cat. Oh, Susan, you're still muted.
Here I go. Here I go. This is Zeke. Um, I'm always reminded of the binding of the sign upon your hands and your heart and your head because of a brief experience. It was an experience which I will share briefly. I was in Detroit coming home from a meeting at the University of Michigan, and I'd hurt my knee and I was in a wheelchair. So I was just sort of sitting there, and this gentleman stood up and looked out the window, obviously facing east, and he laid on his tefillin. And I thought, oh, how cool, this is great. And these two guys walked by and said, oh my God, what's he doing? Is he a terrorist? Oh my God, we better call security. And I said, he's an observant Jew, he's praying. And they ran off and got security. It was really offensive. And because I couldn't get up and come to the guy's defense, all I could do was sit there. But that always brings to mind that incident.
It's so incredible that you're mentioning that, Susan, just the act of tefillin in and of itself. I'm going to stop sharing for a second just so that I can see everybody's hands when I ask this question. By show of hands, have you ever put on tefillin? And I see some of you shaking your head no. A next question, have you ever thought about putting on tefillin? A few hands are going up, and I'm seeing more women put their hands up there too. All right, so I've asked if you did, I've asked if you thought about it. Now I'm going to ask one more. Would you like to try putting on tefillin? So it's really interesting to see, Rabbi Streifer, do you see the yeses and the nos? And I think maybe we need to have a lot soak session sometime on just the tefillin aspect of all of this, which is I think it is very visceral. Some of us will have these great memories as children. Some of us may feel different towards it for one reason or another. But I thank you for bringing that up, Susan. I'm going to keep us going because otherwise I'm going to use all of our remaining time just talking about tefillin. So I saw Lior. Do you want to go ahead and share your comment?
I think that the Ve'ahavta, apart from the tefillin, which is always interesting and a grounding experience for me, but it's a possibility. There's always that possibility you will become holy to your God. So there's always that sense of possibility. Every time you say it, there is that possibility of that will or can be, or it's can be in the future. And it's so ripe and rich and fecund with possibility.
I love that. I love that so much, and the hope. And I want to say, because Leo, you also mentioned the word grounding. A practice that I'm trying to do before a meeting, before a class, is to invite people to, and myself, just to take a deep breath and ground ourselves. And we did that with the prayer, and hopefully the Via Hafta itself is grounding. And maybe, Leo, that's a new way for us to think of when we're doing the Via Hafta, is the letting it ground us. So the hope of being present, the tikva of being present in that moment and for the future. And, whether it's the kissing the mezuzah, which is part of the Via Hafta, or the wearing the tefillin, or just thinking for a second. Also, as you heard me say part of the Via Hafta, I was chanting it, and that is, of course, our Torah chant. So does hearing Torah ground us? Does hearing the Hebrew ground us? But I love that you brought that up. Okay, Bob, and then we're going to move on.
I mentioned in the chat about all the repetitions in here, and there's not time to go into them all, but it interests me that we're to love the Lord with kol levavcha, and that's plural, all of our hearts. And to me, that means the left heart and the right heart. And the difference between those has to do, one side carries blood without oxygen to the lungs, and the other side carries the oxygenated blood around to the body. But what does that represent to us? The difference between those sides is the breath. And it's
Wow.
the breath that connects the two sides of the heart.
I love that. Normally I call you Bob, but in this moment I'll also call you Dr. Hammer for bringing that part to us as well. And it's interesting you say that because Rabbi Streifer and I recently got a piece of mail asking us something about how we see Judaism as the chambers of the heart. I don't know, Rabbi Streifer, if you opened that email, but it was from the CCAR asking us about Judaism within chambers of the heart. So even there, you have me thinking about what if we were to, when we say love with all of your heart, what are the different aspects of the heart and what does that mean? And I love the fact that you brought it into the plural. So it's not just teaching or not just in instructing us or asking us individually to love God, but really to the community to love God. Okay, one more. President's office. I'm sorry, I don't see the name on there, but if you want to quickly respond, and then as we're doing that, I'm going to pull up the special Elul via Hafta.
Sorry, my name is still changed from when we did our board meeting last night. I did it with my dad was here, and he's the president of our synagogue. So I changed my name as sort of a joke.
No problem.
Whenever I hear the Via Hafta, Debbie Friedman singing it from youth group always resonates with me. And even as you were chanting it, and reading in English the rest of it, the melody resonates with me. And I always stand for the Shema and the Via Hafta because to me they're one.
Beautiful. Well, I love that you're bringing that up because I did have a thought before too of how I could get in the English version of Debbie Friedman's, or there are a few other beautiful English songs that people have written. And I love the comment you made about the standing and the sitting. And I remember growing up within youth group and going to Kutz Camp of Blessed Memory and standing, and you saw it was always almost like a battle of the kids who stood and the kids who sat and who, were so strong about it. And it's just interesting that, again, this prayer is talking about with our whole body and how do we give our body to show our love for God within prayer. And within Judaism, of course, we have that with sitting and standing and bowing and going up on our toes and all of that. So I'm going to move us to, this is called a Via Hafta for Elul. And if anybody would like a copy later, we can make that available. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It's a few screens. So please, as I'm reading it, feel free to take any notes or take any comments of how you feel about this in the chat. So here we go. Via Hafta for Elul. And again, as a reminder, this is to be thinking of our preparation for coming into the new year, thinking about the prayers we're going to say at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, getting ready. So here we go. You shall love the ones who are close with all your heart, with all your spirit, with all your strength. Remember these words, inscribe them on your heart. Love them when they struggle, when they sadden and disappoint you. Love them when they fail. See good within them even when they can't. Look at them and listen even when it's hard. Be grateful for their guidance, even their reproof, when they save you from yourself. Love them when they give you joy, and love them when they don't. When you lie down, let go of anger. When you rise up at dawn, begin again. Praise them for their deeds at home. Speak to them in public with respect. Bind yourself to the ones you love, with promises kept and vows fulfilled. Open to them the gates of your heart. the doorway of your soul, and let them know you. So shall the ones you cherish feel your love, your presence, and your care. Okay, friends, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you, though I feel like I should leave it on so you can see the words a little bit more. Um, any thoughts? Any thoughts from any of you? I'm looking in the chat to see if there's any comments. Okay, Andrea, go ahead.
I had to unmute. Okay. You can look at it as the ones who are close and think of that as I would look at you and your siblings and my family. You could also look at it and say it applies to the general population, not just the ones who you love, but everybody, and take all this in to hope for a better future and to know how you feel inside towards everyone.
I love that, especially, if you think about the wording of this, as you brought up, when they sadden you and disappoint you, love them when they fail. What if we were to be able to have a big enough heart to see that for some of our political leaders or some of the people we interact with, whether it's a teacher or a friend or even clergy, or just being able to see someone who you don't know personally and give them the grace. That's a word I've been using a lot lately is grace, and trying not only to ask for grace from others for myself, but also to give people that grace in Hebrew chen, and stop maybe being so judgmental. Alice, please.
Okay, so I really like the Via but I always take it as sort of in most religious things I take, in most biblical things I take as metaphorical and try to think like, well, okay, so what does this mean for my life right now? Which is why I have no desire to it to feel them. It's way too literal an interpretation for me. To keep them before you is not necessarily to physically put them onto you. And so I kind of reject that. But I like this Via for a little as well, because it sort of expands like the basic idea out from just focusing on God out to the world. And what does that mean? And to me, that's the essence of a prayer like the Via.
Beautiful. Thank you. And one of the things I like, and you kind of bring that up, Alice, too, is when you look at this, I kept looking at it over and over to look at the capitalization, because I was looking to see the you, almost as, is this a conversation with God? And the first, you shall love the ones, it's a capital Y because it's starting off the prayer, but could it also be as in you, God, shall love the ones? Is this a prayer that could also be a dialogue with God? Or just as God is telling us to love in saying via hafta, you shall love, could this be a response that we're able to have in conversation with God? And that comes up a little bit more in the next one, and then even the third slide. But just thank you so much for that. Next hand I see is Sarah's. And again, please feel free to raise your hand or put comments in the chat. Thank everyone for this.
So this reminds me a lot of the Buddhist metta, and the piece that's missing for me in this, and maybe I just missed it because we don't have it all 3 pages in front of us at the moment, is doing these things for ourselves, forgiving ourselves, especially in this month of Elul, to begin to focus on how am I taking care of me? How am I forgiving myself for, the ways that I am failing? Am I giving myself the second chance? Am I reminding myself that teshuvah requires me to come back and look deeper and to do this whole cheshbon hanefesh for me and my soul and my path?
Oh, Sarah, I just got chills. One of my favorite passages for the high holidays is when we say on Yom Kippur that For sins committed between you and God, the Day of Atonement atones, but for sins committed between you and another person, the Day of Atonement does not atone until you have made peace with them. And I realize how much that passage is missing the third piece, which is to allow yourself to make atonement within yourself. How many of us carry around so many things and carry that into the new year? Where do we find the time and the space to have the self-love? And that self-love only comes if we can learn to forgive ourselves. So I really appreciate that. We'll take the comment from Bruce and then Aviva and Yehuda.
Thank you, Rabbi. Could I ask you to switch back to the first page?
Sure.
Thank you. So this might be a different interpretation of what people are reading, but when I read the second paragraph, the second stanza, I read it as, remember these words, inscribe them on your heart, love them when they struggle. And I took them to refer to the words. The words themselves are struggling. When the words sadden you or disappoint you, love them when they fail. And those words could be our own words. They could be the words of other people who we hear. They could be words from God that we hear a voice of that we're disappointed with or we feel have failed. Anyway, it just was a kind of interesting switch for me that I thought I would share.
Please. Thank you so much for sharing that. I absolutely love it, and I will now see it completely different. Thank you so much. Aviva and Yehuda.
For me, the whole Shema and the Vahavta, it really does hinge on the word lima'an. The word lima'an, when most of the time when we read it in the Torah, it is tied into the so that your life may belong on the land that, it's a big reminder. And here, the lima'an is so that you remember God. Lima'an tizkiru. How do you remember God? It's always by action, right? How do you remember God and be holy? It's always by the action vis-a-vis other people. And that's, it's action oriented. The making wholeness with your soul is a gateway to making wholeness in the world around you. If it is just for your own soul and you're on a mountain somewhere and you can appreciate everything from far away, it's not the Jewish way. It's the, look to your right. There's always someone on your right or someone on your left. You may or may not know them. You may or may not have anything in common with them, but you won't know until you turn to them and open that possibility. So the lima'an in here is very, very different from the many, many other times that it's used in the Torah.
Oh, thank you, Aviva. Hamon todah for that. That is such a beautiful interpretation and a reminder that this is a prayer of action. And some of our prayers are prayers of action within the setting of services or setting of saying the prayer. This, the Via Hafta original, and hopefully this one is actually a reminder of a prayer for how we live our entire life and every moment. So I really appreciate that. All of you today with your comments, both in the chat and live, are reminding us that we are all teachers and you're all our rabbis, and I am so grateful. I know that some of you have written that you've liked this. I've known in conversations with some of my congregants that they actually don't like this or that they find it not as connected to the Via Hafta. For me, it allows me to really hold on to the Via Hafta and to center a prayer that we say so often in a different way for Elul. And that's one of the reasons that I like it, because we're not just being in a sense of rote, of repetition. The Via Hafta I could do, and as many of you probably can do by heart. But if we add something different and we think of it in a different way, it also reminds us to be present. And I hope that that is one of the things that I can leave everyone with as we are moving into this new year. And I know that my time has come. It's always so quick when we are together. I'm going to put in the chat again my email address. So if anybody wants to share more feelings with me about this, or as some of you have done in the past, you have written your own versions of things we talk about. So if anyone is so inspired to send me your own version of the Via Hafta, or write your own Via Hafta for Elul, or anything of the sort, I would love to see it. And I want to also thank those of you who have written and shared things with me. I always love it. My chat, in the chat, you'll see my email, and I'll be teaching again soon, I hope. And as always, I want to thank you for being here, and I wish you all a Lishana Tova Umetuka, a good, sweet new year. And let me add, may it be a new year of love with ahava, love for God, love for others, and love for yourself.
Thank you to Rabbi Emily Losben-Ostrov. This was a really interesting teaching. A couple of things before people scatter. First of all, next week we are studying with Rabbi Lauren Tuckman, and our topic is Whom Shall I Fear? Finding Hope in the Psalm for Elul. It's traditional to read Psalm 27 every day during this month in preparation for the high holidays. Secondly, a couple of you have asked me whether we can get the slides. Rabbi Emily, would it be okay to share? Can you share your slides with me today, and I'll share them with folks, if that's all right?
Absolutely. Sure.
So you know what I'm going to do, because this week and last week people have asked for the slides. I'm just going to email both out to everyone, so you don't have to email me and ask me. You'll receive them both as soon as I get them both from the two teachers. Finally, as you've heard me say before, we are committed to Tikva Through Text being free and open to all throughout the year. If you are so inclined, it is very much appreciated if you'd consider making a donation to La Asok, and I just put the link into the chat, either a one-time or a monthly donation to support this programming so that we can keep it going and keep it free for all. Thank you to those who have and continue to do so. And with that, I'll wish you all an early Shabbat Shalom and look forward to seeing you again next Thursday. Take care, everyone.